integrity. That's called courage.
Free up your mind, use your imagination.
All you need to know is I'll get you there.
Learning.
Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Welcome to the Open House podcast. Our guests are our students, opinionated, daring, and ridiculously smart. They ask tough questions about life and about learning. This podcast is by them and for them. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for the 14th episode of the Open House podcast. I really want to, before we start the episode today, I really want to thank all of you for joining us. The number of coronavirus cases are rising every day. Many people are sick themselves or caring for someone who is sick. And we really appreciate all of you taking out the time to come and talk to us. As hard as life is right now, today we want to talk about some of the things that keep us going. That could be a good movie or a series on Netflix or just a few moments of laughter. I read somewhere that a sense of humor is almost like your mind's immune system. And this episode is precisely about humor and the role it can play today. I just want to introduce our three speakers today. Our guest speaker is Atul Khatri. He doesn't really need an introduction, but for the sake of one, here it is. He's a stand-up comedian and was with East India Comedy for quite a few years. In the last couple of weeks, he's been doing only positive news, only good news IGTV videos. And those have really been like uplifting the mood. We have two student speakers today, Carolyn and Ananya. Carolyn is in class 10 at Freedom International School in Bangalore. She's a state-level badminton player, a keyboardist, guitarist, and a singer. In her own words, she's just a little kid trying to make the world a better place. Ananya is in class 11 and an avid traveler and blogger. She is extremely ambitious and driven to do great things. She's interned as a sales and outreach executive and is currently teaching English on call. My first question today is quite simple. Does humor help at a time like this when there is so much grief and sadness? Does it help? And if yes, then how?
So I think I'll take it up. Actually, I've been doing only positive news since last year. So maybe you've joined me on Instagram now that you realize that I've started a few weeks back, but actually I've been doing it from last 15th of March 2020. I started doing only positive news. The reason I started doing this was, I was looking at the newspapers. I was looking at the news everywhere, on WhatsApp, everywhere. There was last year also more or less the same time we were going through a very, very uncertain times because that's a time when the pandemic really hit the world. And so I said, I'm sure there must be some positive news. I consider myself to be a fairly I would say mentally strong person, but honestly, by watching all these news and consuming so much of this, I started feeling anxious, and I said, let me see if there's any positive news. It just started as a mission to search the newspaper, and the first day I just got some 3-4 very silly positive news, but they were positive news. Like for example, a leopard in some forest near Mumbai had given birth to 3 baby cubs. Okay, I said, hey, that's a positive news. Somewhere there was a ferry carrying some passengers and the ferry capsized, but the police came and saved all of them and people didn't drown. I said, hey, that's a positive news. So I started with that and I started doing this daily positive news. And honestly, I started doing this. First of all, it gave me a routine to my life. So unlike you young kids out there, I like to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I like to shave. I like to have a bath. I like to wear my underclothes. So I said, I have to have a routine to my life. And all my shows had been cancelled, obviously, because of the pandemic. So I started doing only positive news more as a thing to keep myself busy and also to just generally spread positivity. And to straight come to your question, I definitely feel humor. It has to be correct humor. You can't at this time make fun of a lot of things, or sometimes, because we comedians do get a lot of dark thoughts, but this is a time to keep the dark thoughts to ourselves, the dark humor to ourselves, and just see that as much as possible, your humor, what you're putting across is, I would say, correct, not very insensitive. And I genuinely believe, humor helps people in this times of crisis. And let me also tell you one thing is that just because a comedian, for example, is doing a comedy show on Zoom, or if I'm doing only positive news, doesn't mean that I'm unaware of what happened. Even my family members are going through COVID. Some of them, I have lost near ones. But the idea is to, as Raj Kapoor used to say, the show must go on. We must, continue to, even though we may have sadness, or we may have dark moments, or we may have this. It is very important to when you're on stage, when you're performing. And actually, if you look at it, Instagram or social media platform is in a way our performance stage currently, because our stages have stopped. There are no shows happening. So when we are bringing out some humor here or some positive things here, sometimes we are fighting our own internal battles to do this. But I think it is extremely important. Even if I succeed in making 5 people smile, 5 people, for 5 minutes, who have been going through some mental trauma or going through anxiety, get away from that and just laugh for 5 minutes. I think that is extremely important. But yes, it has to be sensitive.
What do you guys think, Ananya and Carolyn? Does it help? Is it just a distraction, or does it actually give you strength to live through the harder parts of life as well?
As Sir mentioned, COVID is not a topic to laugh on these days. It's quite serious and everybody is taking it seriously. But there is a coping mechanism that humor has. So we can actually use humor to cope up with the stress and anxiety. It is a proven fact by research that about 39 people reduce their stress and anxiety just by anticipating humor. So if they only anticipate humor and reduce their stress by 39%, in these times where our stress levels have gone up like anything, humor can actually help reduce the anxiety and stress in all of us. That's what I feel.
Okay, before the COVID pandemic and all struck, right? I'm this kind of girl who sits for studies, and then every time I need a break, I watch stand-up comedy. It's like a routine that I've got into, right? So when I used to do that, at times I used to go, you know what? Why am I doing this? Why am I watching stand-up comedy? Let me study. But after some of my close relatives, they got the virus and they had quite a tough time getting through it, and literally everyone around them, everyone around me were extremely panicked, extremely worried. The stand-up comedy became this one thing that actually gave me solace, right? I felt I could actually just forget everything that's happening around me and just smile and just laugh. And I was reading this particular article, right? And there's this doctor, she's a neurologist, her name is Dr. Isha Gupta. So she has proven that smile spurs a chemical reaction in the brain, releasing certain hormones including dopamine and serotonin. Right? So now these hormones actually make you feel happy. So the very small action of smiling or laughing that is a product of us watching comedy or witnessing humor as a whole gives us so much happiness and so much solace, and it actually tells us that the situation isn't really that bad. Don't worry. I mean, what has to happen will happen, right? But the least you can do for yourself and the people around you is stay happy. Just try to not worry, right, during this time, because they already have so much of stress, and us freaking out and us getting into depression and stuff like that isn't really the solution.
As they say, this laughter is the best medicine, as they say. Yeah. That's number one, and I totally agree with Ananya when she says that this is the anticipation of humor. If in the evening, suppose in the bed, when COVID was not there, that you're going for a comedy movie or you're going for a comedy show, it is proven that since morning you start feeling happy that I'm in the evening, I'm going for a comedy show. Versus if you're going to watch probably a Christopher Nolan movie, where you will probably go there thinking that I know I'm going to get confused. So I think it's humor is important, and yes. As she said, it releases dopamine and increases your serotonin level. And also, let me tell you one thing over here is that you can control only things which are in control. Suppose you're in Mumbai and situation is bad in Delhi, or you're in Calcutta, things are bad in Delhi, or things are generally bad outside. The only way you can contribute is maybe donating some money to some relief, doing that. But you can't take anxiety for things which are beyond your control. So things which are in control are your family members. To ensure that none of them go out without double masking. So what are the physical distancing? It's important to just maintain all these things. So whatever is in your control, you control it. honestly, you cannot control a lot of things which are happening in the world. So don't take stress for that. Sorry, can continue, please.
No, I was actually, humor can really be a form of self-expression. You feel bad about something and you crack jokes about it and you end up feeling better. Earlier in March, I got COVID, and the day I got the moment I got my positive test result, I was just like, the jokes were on. And that was my way of dealing with it. Of course, I was stressed, and of course, I was like, hey, what's going to happen? But that was my way of dealing with it. Is that the case for you guys also, where it's just self-expression?
Yeah, I'll take this. Yeah, I think it is very, very important, first of all, to have a sense of humor. I've tweeted this many a times. Just give your children a sense of humor. That's all they require to survive this world, honestly. You have to have a sense of humor, because the way things are happening around us, not only in COVID, even before that, I think it's important to have a sense of humor and take things always. And that's what most of us comedians do, that whenever we see any situation which the rest of the people feel that, why is he laughing about it? Because we see something beyond that. And so I like, when I also got COVID in Jan, and I told my wife that, we've been married for 28 years, and I said, oh my God, now I'm going to get 14 days with you in a bedroom alone. Last time we did that was in a honeymoon, and now after 28 years we have to do it again. And we used to fight for the most silliest things, which was so silly. But that's when we realized that just 14 days locked in a room can remove the demon inside you. So yeah, we laughed a lot about it, and I think just keeping us a positive. So I have a 150 square foot room, and we had opened the balconies. We were just walking around. I used to do close to 5,000 steps even in my room in the evening. Even though I had COVID, unfortunately, it was asymptomatic, so I could walk around in the room, and we had a lot of jokes about the oximeter and this, then ourselves in the room. Yeah. So very important to look at the brighter side of things.
What do you guys have to add?
There was this incident in my society where an 80-year-old uncle, he tested positive, but his daughter checked his oxygen levels and they seemed to drop a lot. So they rushed him to the hospital. But once he was taken there, it seemed the oxygen levels were completely normal. So it was just the fault in some oximeter that came up. But there were so many jokes around it in the society itself that it kind of took off the stress on the matter that he had to be admitted and he had to actually stay there and all that. There was no stress on that. There was stress on how the oximeter failed in doing its one job.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you this story. So it's of my uncle. Okay, so he's my dad's elder brother. So he got the COVID, and he was home quarantined for a very long time. But then after a point, he started getting a little difficulty in breathing and stuff. But that moment, his wife called my parents, and my parents went all haywire. They started calling everyone, every PPMP office, every single person they had contact with, and finally from afternoon till evening, because it's become very hard to find beds, right? At this point, it's a very big problem right now. But finally, thank God, they were able to find a bed in a hospital, right? And what had happened was, because my dad was coordinating and another uncle of mine was also coordinating for the bed, two people were fighting for one bed for the same patient. So the hospital was like, oh, wait, there are two people for the same bed and stuff like that. And then that uncle of mine called my father and was just like, wait, that's your brother only, no? And my dad was like, yeah. And he's like, we're both fighting for the same bed, dude. Tell him that you want the same bed and we want the same patient. And then we got the bed, and the people in the hospital were like, oh my God, he seems to be a very influential person. So many people asking for a bed for him. And my uncle goes in the ambulance, right, to the hospital. But he gets down and goes to the ICU walking. And then the nurses there cracked up, and there were just so much tension in the hospital, and he went walking to the ICU he's so chill. Why are you guys panicking so much, right? So what I wanted to tell you guys was, when this situation actually made my dad crack up, and he called my mom, and he was just like, we are such tension parties and stuff like that, and I was just like, yeah, you're my parents, I mean, what can I say? But all that happened, and when those nurses like spoke to my dad, they were just like, your brother is bindas, like he's so chill, he doesn't even freak out that much. You guys are worrying so much, and my dad actually felt like a little happy, like in some part of him, he just felt, okay, my brother will be fine, nothing's gonna happen to him. He's so chill. We are the ones freaking out, right? So when you're in a very tough situation, when there's a lot of adversities going on around you, right, I think the best thing that anyone can possibly do is be calm, right? Be calm, because when you are calm, your mind works better, and when you are calm, the people around you tend to be calmer too, and when they are calmer too, stuff just tend to work out.
Yeah. I think like laughter in the hospital is like one of the funniest stories ever. I think it's about 2 years back, my grandfather had a stroke and he partially lost his speech in that stroke. And over the next 5-6 days while he was there were a lot of like exercises being done, and he abuses a lot. He's an 80-year-old Punjabi man from Delhi. So the moment like he said an expletive, we were all like, you know what, he's doing fine. Like if he's saying this, then like he's recovered fully and we can all go home now. So I think like it does add lightness to the moment. Carolyn, like the story that you were just actually recounting, many people would not find it funny. I think there's always a pressure to be politically correct. Are we losing the ability to laugh at ourselves as individuals, as a people, as a country?
I'll take that. So, I think taking offense has become our national pastime. People wake up every morning and say, please offend me somehow. Like, I've woken up just to get offended. So you can write the most beautiful thing. You can say it's a lovely, beautiful, sunny morning in Mumbai. Still, there'll be some three guys. Oh, you're enjoying the sun. Here, people are dying in Delhi. And I didn't mean that. I just said it's a lovely. I just commented on the weather. So I'm just trying to tell people are this. I think, and also the reason why I think people are getting more offended, because right now they have this tool which is made by God, Android, Apple, 4G given by Jio. So they have this access where they can directly, throw their offense at any person, and half of these guys are, hiding behind, unknown names. There are no photographs, so it's just become very easy to throw stones. These are basically cowards, these are basically trolls who have no reason but to just get upset at anything, and they can twist your most honest statement, your most humble statement into something which is so nasty. And I only advise people, like, I know it will come with age, but I feel maybe after 28 years of marriage with 2 grown-up children, and I think I've got immune to this. So I don't look at any troll comments. I don't read them only, to be honest with you. So if suppose I know you and you comment something, like yesterday I put up something and one of my friends messaged me saying that, hey, this post, I didn't like it in this particular way, and we had a good argument about it. And finally, I was convinced that, maybe it was not right. And just to let you know, I retweeted Payal Rohtagi's one stupid video of she's crying. What has Modi ji done to Kangana Ranaut and this? It's like she's acting. Okay, she's crying. And I retweeted it. He just said that, dude, why are you giving importance to her? Thanks to, I have 3 million followers on Twitter. Now people will look at a stupid video. Just ignore these kind of people because they're just unnecessary spreading hate and just, they want basically attention, and you're giving them more attention. And then after long, I agreed. I said, yeah, maybe that's right. I should have not given her so much attention she deserved. So anyway, so I'm just saying that if somebody of known to you, somebody is having a nice argument with you, I may even listen to that person. But if it starts only with a bad word and it starts only with an agenda to troll you, just ignore it. I know it take time, but initially I have to get very upset by these troll comments and things like that. I'm honestly telling you, I put up so many of my videos on YouTube. I don't read any comment. I know it's somebody say, oh, why don't you read your fans' comment and things like that? No, I have given my work, whatever I felt was best on YouTube. You may not like it. It's all subjective. You may not like my humor. You may not like my style. You may not like what I say. You may not like my face. Okay, move on. You have an option to unsubscribe and move on, rather to go there and make that effort to sit and troll that person and, waste your time, waste my time. Yeah, so that's my 2-bit advice on trolls.
What about you guys? Do you feel we're just easily offended? We can't laugh at ourselves anymore?
Yes, because just before I joined this meeting, one of my friends texted me saying, "You know what? I'm bored." Now I didn't know how to react, so I said, "Okay, congrats." And I don't know, he took it. He took it to. I thought that was supposed to be light-hearted. He was like, "Okay, now what do I do? I can't help you out." But he was like, "That's mean." And like, no, you're not supposed to take it to your heart. Just take things lightly. So as Sir said, it's obviously subjective. Humor is subjective, but I know people these days are taking everything to their heart. Like every single thing that you say, there is something that is wrong in that. And but humor is really disarming. So when you poke at stuff that everyone's worried about, it actually takes their attention off the actual topic, and they think about something else. So there are 300 other replicas made of the same topic, and at times it does not really make sense.
Okay, I'll go. So obviously there's a point in each and every one of our lives where we like embarrass ourselves so badly in front of everyone, and we go on YouTube and type how to not embarrass yourself, or how can I be more non-embarrassable, or something like that, right? So obviously I've been through that situation millions of times. So I was at my friend's house, and then I like told her, this is what happened, and then she was like, you know what, let's Google it, because Google is the ultimate answer guru. So yeah, and I opened that, and I was watching a video, right? And then they were actually using a celebrity's example. I don't remember which celebrity exactly, but they were using his example to show how self-humor can actually help you to like overcome a situation where people are teasing you and you don't go all okay okay, that kind of situation, that you get to skip that, because when they tease you, you tease yourself, you laugh about it, everyone laughs about it, and then it's done. Like, people aren't gonna remember why they tease you. They're gonna remember how you made a joke out of it, and how you made that embarrassing situation for yourself funny, right? So that's just amazing. And I totally agree with what Sir was telling about trolls and stuff like that, because at a point, right, it just gets to your head. It just starts messing around with you, starts causing you to have self-doubt and stuff like that. Sometimes, taking those, not trolls, but taking comments on your whatever you're doing for that matter, comments by your friends, comments by your family, taking that in a light-hearted manner, listening to them, but taking that in a light-hearted manner can actually help a lot.
No, I completely agree. That's my strategy. Crack a joke about myself before anyone else can do it. Like, I want to just beat them to the joke. Humor also allows you to say the truth without being all too serious. And today, people are feeling a lot of anger and a lot of sadness. Do you see people like channeling that into humor and just speaking the truth through it?
Actually, most comedians like us, we use satire a lot, and that is what it is. Basically, it's satire where you make fun of the whatever topic you want to do. Maybe it could be political satire, it could be satire on Bollywood, it could be a satire on things having around us. It could be basically observations, and all of us, a lot of comedy is basically satire, and especially people when you are coming for a comedy show. So if you are following me as a comedian, or if you're following me or you're coming to watch a show of mine, you can't come inside and then say, oh my god, I got offended, or why the hell are you making fun of this community, or why are you doing this, why are you doing this? Dude, you paid money. I didn't follow you, you followed me on Instagram, supposing, or you paid money and came to watch my show. You better be prepared. It's written on the ticket. It's a comedy show. Don't take it to your heart so badly. Don't take it to always think that maybe he's targeting. So basically, for example, if I make fun of Gujaratis, for example, on my show, after the show there'll be some Gujarati, sir, why did you make fun of only my community? I said, yeah, because all my friends happen to be Gujaratis. I know them better than I know my own community, because I live in a very Gujarati predominant neighborhood. All my friends, my best friends are Gujarati. Even me being a Sindhi, I eat Gujarati food 3 times a week because we've grown up in a Gujarati neighborhood. And so anyway, so I'm just at the point I'm trying to say is that, I think just people should just honestly chill, just don't take things so life is so difficult here. Have you paid your GST online? That's difficulty. This is nothing. Life is very simple. So I think that is very, very important, and just don't, I think again we are coming to the same point that don't get offended for any stupid thing. Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I think we've got much larger issues in this country to take care of rather than getting offended at a comedian. So because there's a thing, I like this. I get a lot, sir. Why are you talking about politics? Do you know anything about politics? And I look at his profile, some bloody 17-year-old kid sitting in some Muzaffarpur teaching me about politics. Dude, I'm 53-year-old. I live in a joint family. I have worked with EIC. I've run a company for 25 years. You're going to teach me politics? I'll teach you politics. I've been reading the newspaper for the last 40 years every day, and they teach me like, sir, what do you know about politics? Stick to comedy. I said, the old joke is that because, politicians are doing comedy, so we comedians have to do politics. So, yeah.
There's a satirical newspaper in New Jersey by the name of the Jaff Briefing. So they are actually spreading satire on the current issues. But what Jonathan Jaff, the owner, saw is he observed that there was a 40% spike in readership. So when you asked about talking about, humor about truth, it actually helps people increase their knowledge as well. So the satirical newspaper, the 40% readership increased, which means people accepted it, and that's why they continued to read it. So it's yes, it does help spread the truth. So it does help people accept the truth in times when there's disbelief and they don't really want to accept it. This newspaper actually helped them accept it.
I like to add something here to what Ananya said is that what she's saying is very right, because I've been, the way I got into comedy from 2010, I used to write these funny satirical posts on Facebook, and then 2012, a lot of people said, hey dude, you're very funny, why don't you try on hand in stand-up comedy? And when I put up the satirical post, there were a lot of my friends who were staying abroad who didn't know what was happening in India. But because of my satirical post, they used to then message me separately. Okay, hey, thanks to you, thanks to your satirical humor, we come to know what's happening in the country, So I think that's very, very important, that satire also spreads knowledge, because one thing you have to realize is most of the kids, like I'm sure none of you, I'm assuming, but none of you read the newspaper. None of you watch TV news. Your only source of entertainment, or only source of news rather, is through social media. Maybe through Instagram, maybe through WhatsApp, maybe, and it all depends on what pages you follow. So that's the thing, because when we comedians go on stage, talk about a particular topic, actually in a way we are increasing your knowledge about it, and obviously it's opinionated. It's my opinion, but finally it's your thing to take that opinion or not take that opinion. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, so that's not a problem. My mom always says that comedy is this one platform that gives out the harshest of truths in the most beautiful manners, right? So there are like so many stand-up comedy shows that speak about such vital and such distressing stuff, honestly, but the way they say it at the end, you don't feel heavy. Like if I watch the news right now, I turn on TV9 and they go, these many deaths are there, these many people have died, these many oxygen tanks are missing and not there, and stuff like that, right? And at the end of that, I'm just like, okay, I'm depressed, I'm half depressed already. But when you watch a comedy show, right, you learn so much about the world, so much about people, so much about their opinions. But at the end, you still know that it isn't that bad, because they were able to say it so nicely, they say it in such a light-hearted manner, and it just comes out so well through it, and that's probably one of the main reasons why I just adore stand-up comedy. So I think, yeah, the harshest of realities are given out in the most beautiful forms through comedy.
There's like one of my all-time favorite, I think, stand-up comedy videos is the set that Varun Grover did on Padmavat, and the actual story behind it, and why there was so much like outrage about like making this movie, and he actually explained the whole story, what the mythological thing is, and it's hilarious. Like, he's making so much fun of the ridiculousness of taking offense at a movie, at a fictional film, and I think like that that's just the role that like humor and comedy can play, right? So
I'd like to add something here. One more, you have to realize that since last many years, there's a lot of fake news which is being propagated on social media. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of fake news. You know, it's not just one person sitting in a house and making some fake news. You know, these are proper, you know, channels. There are proper organizations, you know, run by political parties. And I'm not naming one, all political parties. You know, they're sitting and running because they know that a lot of the young people, you know, India has an extremely young population, and all these people don't read news, they don't watch TV. So they social media, you know, like one of my daughter's friends had done a project in rural UP, Uttar Pradesh, where in UP they don't, poor guys are uneducated. They they don't have news, they don't know how to read, they don't have TV, they don't have electricity, but they all have a Geo phone with 4G. Okay. In fact, they don't have an electricity, so they have to go to the post office once in 2 days to go and charge their phone because they don't have electricity in their huts. But they all have a 4G connection, and what 4G gives them is WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is throwing, you know, there's I know for a fact that there are, you know, people with computers sitting and generating this fake news, taking old pictures of some other riots and saying this happened yesterday. These so many women were raped 2 days back by this so and so political party, and you are sitting there, you are uneducated, you see this in Hindi coming in whatever, someday you see some images, and these are very image driven, and you say, oh my God, this is what is happening in my country. That's how they spread hatred, that's how they spread, you know, how they try to polarize you. So we have to be extremely careful of even this, and that's the role which we try, most of Indians try, is to, you know, dispel this. Like I, for example, a rule I have formed: if I get any news on WhatsApp, you know, I'm an old uncle, so I have a lot of these WhatsApp groups. So and you have to one day be a part of a WhatsApp uncle group to know what's happening there. You know, there's a separate country being run over there. So what happens over there is every day I get news, I don't read, I don't believe it. My wife will tell me, hey, did you know this happened? And I said, no, I will not believe it. Let me do my own, you know. And depending upon how important the news is, I'll wait for the next day newspaper to come in. I'll maybe go to a verified source. I'll maybe go to some of the better news sources, proper news channel, rather than a WhatsApp, you know, verify it and then only talk about it. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this point about fake news because that is really spreading a lot.
You know, so earlier in the podcast, you had said that, hey, there are some things that, like at a time like this, one does not joke about and should not. What are some of those things for you guys? Like things that you would just like not make fun of? Is there a boundary?
To be very honest with you, in comedy as such, if you talk about pure stand-up comedy, pure comedy, you can joke about anything. You can joke about death. You can joke about anything you want. You can joke about your grandmother, grandfather, whatever you want to joke about. Whatever. Actually, in pure comedy, you can joke about everything. But you have to realize it that in a country like India, West comedy as such is new. Stand-up comedy, our genre is just 10 years old. Okay. Still, there are, you know, till today, whenever we perform in a nice urban city like a Calcutta, like a Bangalore, like a Mumbai, we say, hey, how many of you watch comedy for the first time? You'll be surprised to see 40% of the room raises the hand. They're seeing stand-up comedy, live stand-up comedy for the first time. They've obviously consumed it on their phones, on YouTube and things like that. Now, also to realize that becomes the responsibility of the comedian not to scare away the audiences. Okay? Like I know a comedian in US. In US, they have been having stand-up comedy since last 100 years, 80 years, 100 years. Okay? There they have stand-up comedy, you know, classes, not only classes, they have stand-up comedy workshops or shows in schools, in colleges there. On a Friday, they'll say we have a stand-up comedy. Can whoever, any of the student wants to come and go up on stage and talk about whatever you want. Actually, in a way, I think America is the only country which gives you absolute freedom of speech. In India, you have to be careful. And that's not only India, countries around the world, you have to be careful. One is not really from the government, but I'm just saying that so that you don't scare the audiences away. Like I remember there was a comedian who started his Netflix special, first 20 minutes talking about illegal abortion, okay, which is a very, very heavy topic. If you do the same thing in India, you know, 90% of the crowd will run away. What the hell is he talking about? You know, they make jokes on pedophilia, they make jokes on necrophilia, they make jokes on anything because that's a much more mature audience. They've seen comedy since their childhood, so they know that okay. And it's long. See, one thing is very clear: laughter is a natural reaction. I cannot force you to laugh. Okay, I may be the best comedian in the world, but my jokes don't work, you will not laugh because it's a natural emotion. So jokes have to be funny. So you will only laugh when it's funny. Just me going and talk about illegal abortion doesn't work as long as the jokes are not funny. So I'm just trying to tell you guys is that as such as but like in India, for example, right now COVID is happening. For today, if I'm doing a show and start talking about some stupid jokes on COVID deaths happening, or some jokes on oxygen or something like, and there's a member who has lost his, sitting in the audience, who's lost his, last week he must be fighting for oxygen for his brother or sister, and now he's come here to de-stress of the show. You don't want to maybe remind him again of the same situation. So you have to be slightly sensitive of around you. And one of the suggestions I give to a lot of young comedians, and if any of you wanting to try comedy, is that go out and see. So what happens is, the biggest fault a lot of young comedians do is they sit at home, they'll watch some Bill Burr on Netflix, Dave Chappelle in America, they'll watch some Daniel Sloss who does only dark comedy, and they say, my God, this is my guru. And then he goes on stage and tries the same jokes, and the audience rejects him because it's an Indian audience. They've been watching Kapil Sharma show, they've been watching, whatever the Tara Ka Ulta Chashma, I'm sorry, whatever that Ulta Chashma show is there. So, and then you suddenly throw him into the line, he's talking about death, he's talking about, illegal abortion. You say, what the hell? Aaj se hum ye nahi dekhenge. We better watch all that. This is not for us. So I think it's a responsibility of the comedian not to scare the audiences away, and that's very, very important. So, which also means you go there in the comedy clubs and see what the audiences are liking, what the comedians are talking, what the audiences are liking. That's very, very important. And also, as a comedian, you have to study the crowd. For example, if I go to a room and I see they're all, for some reason, all 60-year-old uncles and aunties sitting in the audience, I can't go and make jokes about dating, about, pimples, about anything. Because those are there you have to talk more jokes. It's more about relatability also. Seeing your audience, studying your audience, and talking what you feel is right for that particular day,
Right. So technically there is nothing off limits, but know your audience.
Absolutely.
What about you guys, Ananya and Carolyn? Is there anything that would be like off limits for you to joke about right now, or otherwise also?
Well, I think as far as off limits go as of now, I mean, considering how I don't do stand-up comedy like on social media, I just do it with my family and my friends. I think as far as limitations go, I don't really see much because I know my audience, like Sir said, right? I know my parents won't really care that much about what I say because I'm obviously their daughter, and they know the comedian as well as I know the audience, right? My friends are, just as crazy as me, they won't mind. So as far as my limitations go, they aren't much, but like Sir said again, when you go on social media, when you approach a larger audience, it is very important to know what you're speaking about because although we can say, don't take offense in what we're saying, it's just comedy, but for some reason people have got accustomed to this idea of people ridiculing you, right? So when people ridicule me, I shouldn't be accepting of it. I should rebel against it. I should not like it if people are making fun of me or making fun of anything that has hurt me in any way previously, right? So knowing who you're speaking to is extremely, extremely important. But again, as far as it goes for me, I don't think there's any limitation as of now.
Yeah, the case would be pretty similar to mine too. So on a personal level, I don't really have any boundaries that you shouldn't cross while cracking jokes with me. Like, I would love it if you keep laughing and make me laugh the entire time. So basically, I'm short. For my age, I'm short, and this is a well-known fact. So if you meet any of my friends, the first joke that comes up is about my height. Like, you've met me 10 times, yet the same people will crack a joke about my height every single day. But it's okay because it's, after all, it's a true fact. Not that I'm not short. I am short after accepted. So it's okay if you crack jokes because it's okay. It's just making people laugh, and it's okay if I take it lightheartedly. So for me, there are no topics that are off limit really.
So this next question is actually, I think, more for you. But can you talk a little bit about the difference between, I think, just humor and mockery?
So I think we have this, I think humor should not, they have, in the humor, we have this thing called, punching up, punching down, so usually you make jokes about somebody who's above you. Like, so if I make fun of the Ambanis, I'm okay. But if I make fun of a auto rickshaw wala driver, they'll say, no, dude, that's punching down. You're making fun of somebody's thing. So, I really don't know what is, the legal definition between humor and mockery. Mockery, I think, would be more about. I think it's more punching down. If I look at it, it's more about ridiculing somebody. If I, but to be very honest with you, as intelligent the question is, I don't think my answer is very intelligent in terms of, because I'm myself not. Yeah, I would think it's mockery could be more condescending. It could be more about ridiculing somebody, more punching down. Yeah,
And just, I think, poking at insecurities, or
maybe.
at genuine like life, like
Yeah.
you gave the Ambani and auto rickshaw example. I think that explains it quite well. Yeah.
Can I add on? So can you actually answer this question that
Please.
today's comedian supposed to be more funny or witty? Because there's this debate that you actually need to be witty to make people laugh, but there's this another side which says no, you're supposed to be funny, not witty.
Uh, I feel that the reason actually. So I'll tell you, when I started doing comedy, the thing was I was the witty guy in my family, in my friend group, things like that. Uh, Witty is more. I would use the word. I would assume witty is more inward. So if you're in a friend circle, in your family circle, you always have the witty uncle. So I was that witty brother, friend. So when I used to go, I used to always make jokes, and people used to find me. Maybe call it. You will have friends. Maybe one of you are the life of your party. Like when you go, just spark things up. So yeah. But funny is going on stage. Now a lot of people can be witty within their family group, but going on stage and now holding that audience for 1 hour, you have to be funny, because let me tell you, a lot of people, like, one of the biggest thing is, oh, you must be definitely drinking before going on stage, because once you drink and you open up and all. And honestly, the rule in comedy is never drink, never take any drugs or something and go on stage, because you'll make a mess of yourself. You'll forget your set, you'll forget your jokes. Okay. Also, let me tell you, most of the people over here who may not understand stand-up comedy, whoever you've seen, right from Kapil Sharma to George Carlin to Dave Chappelle to Veer Das to me to Biswa, whoever your favorites are, or to Varun Grover, these jokes are all written, tested, tried. The comedian knows at this point he will get a laugh, at this point he'll get a he'll get this. He knows exactly the reactions which are going to get. So these are all, it's like a performance. Okay, so if you watch me today, you watch me tomorrow, the same set, it will be the same jokes landing at the same time. Audiences could be different. So when you go on stage, you have to be funny in terms of, I would say, really giving the people value for their money and for the time that they have come to watch you. In short, I would say wittiness is maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes. You can be witty, but funny, you have to be. It's the more sustained. It's more like a marathon. You're on stage, 1,000 people watching you, and bam, 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 the jokes have to hit. And the jokes have to hit in such a way that they feel that, oh, this is so relatable, I never thought of this, or the surprise elements, which come in, where, you flip the joke, you take it to a different level. I think that's very, very important. So, honestly, in this entire comedy business, writing jokes is the most difficult part. You may have 1 million followers on Instagram, but finally, if you're not funny on stage, you're not funny. And again, as I'm saying, it's a very, very simple art form. Go on stage, write original jokes, and be funny. People will laugh if you're funny. You can get 500 of your friends on stage as audience members, but if you're funny, those friends will never laugh, even though you're their best friend.
So even in comedy, there is a method to the madness.
Absolutely. Big method to the madness.
My last question actually for the day is about where do you guys find your dose of laughter and humor every day? Where do you seek it?
For me, I tell people, open Times of India every day, you'll find 5 hours of jokes. No, but I find humor everywhere. I mean, as comedians, we are trained to find humor here and there, and we see things which other people don't see. You may read the same newspaper, I read the same newspaper, but I may remove 10 places, I'll show you where the jokes are. You may not, you may just go there. Maybe we are trained for a long time, we'll be doing that. Not a long time, 9-10 years, whatever the stand-up comedy scene in India is. But and that was right from beginning. So that is some, I would say that there is, so the comedy is two parts to it. One is the writing process, and second is the performance process. So some people are amazing in the writing, but they may not be good in the performance. Some people are very shabby in their writing, but they cover it up with great performances. So that is as far as the comedy. But as far as finding humor, I find it everywhere. You find it in your family, you're observing. Just before this in the morning, I had gone to the market and I observed some pieces over there, because in Mumbai right now the market shut at 11 o'clock. You have to buy anything for your house, it is between 8 to 11 or 7 to 11, whatever. So I went early in the morning to buy something. And there were so many instances I saw, which you will never miss. You'll go to the stand. This has happened when we are with my friends and something happens. So all we'll right now, or in a way, we'll point out things which are so obvious, which even you are thinking, but you somehow never penned it down, So that's how it is, and I think it's very important for people to always, have a nice, funny outlook towards life, because you take it too seriously, life will screw you.
What about you guys? Where do you find your dose of laughter and your dose of humor?
Right now, for me, it personally lies in comedy shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and there's Friends. These are the shows that are keeping it up right now. Otherwise, it would be Friends, but not that you can interact and meet them right now. Not that much. On call, there's it's limited as much as you can laugh, but the shows are what is keeping me up right now.
When it comes to finding humor for me, my mom is actually really funny, so I sort of I just enjoy spending time with her, because so basically I call her jokes 2 rupee jokes, because they are like these jokes that the very you get what I mean, right? 2 rupee jokes, yeah. So she cracks jokes like that. She cracks jokes on me, and for some reason I find them more amusing than anything in the world. So I laugh at that. She cracks jokes on my brother, then I crack jokes on my brother, then my dad cracks jokes on my brother, and we all crack jokes on my brother, and he starts laughing at himself. Looking at him laugh, we all start laughing. So basically that's how the pattern goes in my family. I video call my friends a lot. So Zoom is basically probably the most used app on my desktop right now. And when I'm with my friends, we speak completely mindless stuff. Like we won't even know what we're saying. So we laugh a lot when we're speaking with each other. And of course, Netflix is the place where I can just laugh completely. So definitely Friends. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is an amazing show. I love that show. And there are many such shows really that really make me laugh. Again, stand-up comedy, like I mentioned, I watch it a lot. I think that's about it. But I tend to laugh in situations where I'm not supposed to laugh too, right? Someone's scolding you, and for some reason it happens to be funny, and you laugh, and you basically get into more trouble. But I end up doing that also. So I'm basically laughing the entire day. So yeah, I find humor in a lot of things.
Those were all of my questions for you guys. Do you guys have any questions for each other?
I have a question to Sir. As far as I have watched your stand-up comedy, right, and I realized that they are just so relatable. Especially the one thing that I found really relatable in one of your episodes was that when you were speaking about your youngest daughter turning 18, right, and you were speaking about how she got her rider's license and you were so happy, and how you were speaking about how you had to keep dropping her to places, to her coaching class and stuff like that. And I could not agree more, because first of all, my mom doesn't drive or ride a vehicle, because she met with a couple of accidents in the beginning only, and now she's like, if something happens to me, what will you do? So she's not riding anything. So it's my dad, and he's almost all the time in the car, because they put me and my brother into a lot of hobby classes, right? So literally all Saturday, Sunday he was in the car, and even now he reminds me almost every 2 months. He goes, you're gonna get your driver's license in 3 years, I'm so happy. And then my mom goes, when she gets a driver's license, she's pre-booked. So now I'm the pre-booked Ola at home. So that's the thing, right? And I just find your content really relatable, and that's why I find it funny. But there are other comedians whose content is not relatable as such for me, because I'm a kid. And I don't find the content very relatable, but they speak of like events, they notice events, they find the humor in it, like you mentioned, and they state out the humor in that event, and I find that funny too, right? But if I would ask you, which is more important, being relatable or just observing the humor in events and stating that, what would you say?
So I this as a comedian, honestly, and this is a question I get a lot asked, especially after the first Comic Stan happened, because you know what, Comic Stan, the episode on Amazon, because I'm sure that a lot of you watched it, especially as budding comedians, people, as it was a good show. So they said observational comedy, this comedy, relatable comedy, political comedy, so they put it in compartments. And this is a question like I get a lot, sir. So should I do observation comedy? Should I do political comedy? Should I do this? I said, hey, first of all, when you are starting doing comedy as a comedian, don't think about all these things. Think what you think is right. Think what you feel is funny. Later on, you'll come to know whether it is whether. Then later on, it will automatically take its own compartments and things like that. So for example, you found it relatable because you're living through the same. You have a dad who's dropping you, doing the same thing, kind of thing, like I used to do for my children. Somebody who don't have children, they'll find it observation. He's observing about his children. So what I'm saying is, don't get into all these things. I just like any kind of comedy, and honestly, when I'm watching comedy, I don't say, oh, this was observational comedy, oh, this is political comedy, oh, this is self-deprecating comedy. No. This is dark comedy. Just watch comedy for its pure art form. Don't put it in compartments. Don't put it in this. And also, when you're getting into comedy, don't think about all these things. Think what you think is funny. If you're funny, the people will laugh. Again, as it's a very simple art form. And also you have to be original. Please don't copy jokes. Plagiarism is taken very, very seriously in the industry. So don't copy jokes. Write original jokes. Go to open mics. Right now, a lot of them are maybe happening virtually. Also, at least last year, a lot of things are happening virtually. Or as soon as the things open, go for open mic. Go watch live stand-up comedy happening in your city by the local comedians, rather than watching some dark comedian from Australia or Finland or something, which made the material be very funny. You'll find it, but not relatable here in India, So that's very, very important. And just enjoy the writing process, and don't think about all this when you're going out. I like all kind of comedy. To answer your question, I sometimes like, even people find puns, PUNS, the puns as the lowest form of comedy. Very easy to make puns and all, but I enjoy puns. I also laugh at sometimes the most silly things.
Yeah.
I like my own stupid dad jokes, which my daughters detest. Like for years, not from now. Like before I got into comedy, for like last 20 years on Diwali, every day I come out and say, "Itni batti kyun on hai? Diwali hai kya aaj?" So it's such a dad joke, but I love it. And I do it every year. And now it's become a tradition that they wait for me that, Dad, you've not cracked a Diwali joke. So it's become like that. So yeah.
That brings us to the end of our episode today. Thank you for such a lovely and such a funny conversation. I think my biggest takeaway, and for everyone who does listen to this, will be two words that, like Atul sir said, just chill. I think that's the summation of this entire episode, to just like laugh at yourself, laugh at life a little bit, and life will be that much easier and happier.
Please follow me on Instagram. Sorry, just a joke.
Yes, so please follow him on Instagram. Thank you so much, everyone.
See you. Bye. Take care. See you. All the best. Wherever you are, stay safe, stay healthy. All the best. God bless all. Bye. Take care.